What's up, everyone? We're doing a visual podcast today. Welcome to Let's Talk by yours truly with me. Tonight is episode two. It is 9:56 p.m. on the East Coast. I'm so sorry it took so long to do this episode. I just haven't had a break or a time, to be able to do it. But now that everybody's asleep, you know what time it is. Don't forget to share my podcast, download it. It is on Spotify, it is also on Anchor, and it is also on Buzzsprout. So, welcome, guys. All right, so today is episode two. I mentioned in the first episode about my son and how he has autism and stuff. This is my first time ever coming on anything in general, social media, on the air about his diagnosis because I've been very scared of people like judging and them being like, oh, you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. It's my stuff, it's my decision. If I feel comfortable, I'll do it on my own. You get what I'm saying? So, all right. So, Nathaniel is my 2 year old son. He was born on Veterans Day in 2020, 11/11/2020, during the pandemic. So he's a pandemic child, as they call them. Um, Please, like I said, no judging. I don't want nobody being mean or judging me on my decisions and what I decide to speak about. It's my son. It's like I said, it's my kids. It's my life. I be able to talk however I please and, express how I feel because I know there's parents out there with children with disabilities that, that are feeling overwhelmed and they want someone to open up with, which I don't mind, by the way. Um, all right. So, if you have a child with autism or a special disability and you feel like you can't open up to anyone, feel free to come to my social media and feel free to open up to me. I can definitely relate to certain situations. It's been very tough lately with dealing with, Nathaniel having autism and stuff. It's been really hard mentally and emotionally, but I'm hanging in there. I'm getting there. I feel like this light is a little too bright, but I'll be alright. All right. So I'm gonna get to a little story time now. So when Nathaniel was maybe a few months old, my mom actually was the one I pointed it out to begin with, and she was saying, "Hey, like, I feel like you should take Nathaniel to the doctor because I feel like he might have signs of autism." And I'm like, "No way!" I was in complete denial. I was in denial because I didn't want to believe that my own child would have a disability because with my older with my oldest child, she was perfectly fine. She was perfectly fine when she was born, perfectly fine growing up as a toddler, and she's perfectly fine now when she's 6 years old. That's why I was so in denial about it. But I was trying and it was hard at first, it really was, but I was still in denial for a while. So it took me a couple months to actually take him to the doctor and talk to her about his delays because he did start walking late and he still, as we speak, is not talking. He has a speech delay. He doesn't speak at all. He just does sounds and cries and stuff, which I understand because I know that with a child that tries to talk and he can't or he or she can't, they get really, really frustrated. And I understand that. So I kind of got used to his cues and what he wants and stuff. I've already gotten used to it even before I even took him to the doctor. I was already used to what he wanted, his signs and stuff. So I took him to the doctor and she requested a referral for an evaluation. That's called an early intervention evaluation. It's when you have a child that might have a special disability that's mental, they evaluate them, see what exactly are they behind on and what exactly they need to understand what diagnosis to give the specific child. Um, so we took them to the doctor, they did the evaluation, they did what you call it, psychiatrical? Yeah. Psychological, there we go. Psychological, they did speech, and recently they just did a physical evaluation. So that was a little scary for me. Um, so they did all of that. It took a little while because he does have certain things that they have to evaluate and dig more into. So it did take a little while. It took a couple weeks. And then I was actually working at I was working at one of my old jobs writing at the time. This was like back in October, late September, early October. And I was working and I got a phone call from one of the evaluators, and they said that it was official, that they officially want to diagnose him with autism because of all the flags and everything that he's doing leads to the sign of autism. So when I hung up the phone, I ran to the bathroom and started crying because I felt completely in shock. I felt like I let him down. I felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I felt like, I felt like I felt like I let myself down because I thought that I was doing everything fine. I thought that it was just, me bugging or something. And it was just, that was it. So after that, I left my job. I called my husband and I told him what I told him. And, he was in denial too, but eventually we both accepted it that, okay, our son has autism. What do we do now? So, hi, ay, ay. So the changes in my behavior towards like how to take care of him completely changed because before it was just normally like how I would take care of a normal child, like feed them, do all this stuff, change him, yada yada yada. But now, since he has an official diagnosis and he has therapies and everything like that, now I have to make sure he's on time for therapy, make sure that I have all his appointments set up, make sure he had all his tests done. He had to get an audio test. He had to get he gets his therapies every day, every day for 5 days. He gets his therapies. Shout out to his therapist because he's the bomb. Um, the reason I became a stay-at-home mom was because of his diagnosis. Because at that point in time, after I found out his diagnosis and him being taken care of by somebody else that's not me, that didn't really understand the fact that he's disabled, it put a fear in me. It put like a guard up on me. So I said, you know what? Me and my husband, we were talking about it, and he was like, you know what? Just stay home with the baby, and just make sure that he's safe. Make sure he gets his therapies done and everything. And I said, okay. So I took on that challenge. It's been extremely challenging, but it's teaching me at the same time. It's teaching me how to take care of him better, how to teach him more stuff. Because now I'm teaching him how to they'll go up and down the stairs, and we're teaching him how to do puzzles and how to stay still. Because he has not stood still on his own like since he was a baby. He hasn't sat down and stood still. He just runs around and goes. He's all over the place. He's all over the place. But the actions we've taken, we I feel like the actions we've taken have impacted him mentally, like trying to open up because he's still scared. He's still bottled up and he's closed in. Like he's very shy and nervous. Like sometimes when people come over, he'll get extremely nervous or he'll get scared to the point where he'll cry. But it's something that he has to go, not go, but he has to grow over because he's getting older and eventually he's going to go to school and he's going to have to grow up and be with other kids and not just me or not just his dad and or not just his grandma and etc etc. But the advice I give to other parents, don't keep everything bottled in. Don't keep everything bottled in because it is extremely, extremely hard when you can't open up to anyone about you feeling overwhelmed or you feeling like you're feeling let down. Like sometimes I struggle like that too, but I understood, well, not understood, but I'm starting to understand. Like to just sometimes if you can't talk to nobody, just sorry, just write it down or just type it into something or type a note in your phone and it's just It's just something that you can't just keep bottled in because it gets really, really hard to the point where it's just extremely difficult to the point where you feel like you can't breathe. Like sometimes I feel like Nathaniel doesn't let me breathe. But like I said, he's a child, he's a baby. He's only 2. So there's nothing much I can really do. And as much as I can try to help him, I have to push him. I have to so he can be able to explore and learn about himself too. His progress is really, really well. His progress is doing good. He's doing extremely better. And day by we're taking it day by day. He's still young, so we're taking it day by day. And I'm praying, hopefully, that he should be himself. Well, that's the end of my story time. I hope you guys like the story. And for any parent, mom, dad, grandparent, guardian, if you feel like you're overwhelmed by something like this, feel free to reach out, feel free to comment, feel free to slide into my messages. Let me know how you're feeling, see if I can give you any advice on how it can impact you or how it can change how you do certain things. Because this is my first time dealing with a child with a disability like this. It's my first time, and I'm trying to be tough. I'm trying to be tough. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. I know I'm trying to keep a little bit short. I know it's late. Thank you guys for tuning in. I have my podcast will be posted on my Instagram, on my highlights. You can find my link in there. If you follow me, you can see my stories. You can find the link in my story. I'm also on Buzzsprout, Anchor, and Spotify. Well, I hope you guys have a good night, and we'll see you on episode 3.